This is going to probably sound weird coming from somebody that looks as young as I do. But what seems like another lifetime ago, back when I was a welder in a fabrication yard in the oil field, and I guess not long after I had become a welder, I was on a job, and it was the summertime, and it was one of those warm summer days. I just want to let y'all know, for a welder, warm summer days are really hot, right? So I'd finished the weld that I was making, and then I went and got some more rods, supplies, and all of this stuff, and I stopped at the water cooler to get some water to cool off a little bit before I started working again. Well, there were a couple of guys hanging around the cooler when I got there. So I fixed a cup of water, and everybody's kind of talking, and all of a sudden the foreman's truck pulls up, and he gets out of the truck, and everybody's scattered. And I was standing there by myself because I wanted some water. And the foreman walked up, and he says, "Hey," he says, "what are you doing?" I said, I finished the well I was on, I got my supplies, and I'm just getting some water to cool down a little bit. Then I'm going to go back to work. He said, "Okay." And I said, "All right." He said, "Well, let me tell you a little secret." I said, "What's that?" He says, he says, "how when you're a boss, you can tell when people are not doing their job?" I said, "No, how's that?" He said, "because they scatter when you walk up." He said, "All of those guys that were here with you," he said, "they were taking a longer break than they were supposed to." He said, "That's how you can tell." He said, "But you," he said, "you didn't run." He said, "You were where you were supposed to be." So I learned a lesson that day, so that whenever the boss walked up, don't run, and he's going to think that's where you're supposed to be, right? But we all know those people in our lives that don't have to do anything to prove themselves. They are who they are. They do what needs to be done because it needs to be done. They don't have to prove their faith because they're comfortable in their faith. They're comfortable with life. And like I said, I always call that the gift of invisibility, because they do things without looking for the credit. They do it because it needs to be done. And you see, as Catholic Christians, we have to always remember that Jesus Christ needs to be the center of our life. That everything we do in the name of Jesus Christ. It has to be the center of our life. Always. You see, today we celebrate this Divine Mercy Sunday. But what is that? You see, we look in the Gospels today, and I think John was trying to be nice when he wrote this Gospel. When he said that the disciples were in the room and the doors were locked for fear of the Jews. I think a little bit of that fear was, what was Jesus going to do when he came, if he came, because they were still undecided, right? They didn't know for sure. But how were they going to be judged? Because you got to remember that 10 of them abandoned Jesus at the cross. They all scattered. They took off. They left him alone. And here they were together, waiting for Jesus to come back. So they had to be a little bit fear of what he was going to do, because they did what they did. But that divine mercy kicks in. And it says that Jesus stood in their midst. He didn't come through the door. He didn't walk through the wall. He just appeared, and he stood in their midst. And what did he say? "Peace be with you." You see, he didn't hold it against them because they had abandoned him. He didn't hold, but he said, "So the Father has sent me, so I send you. So now the 3 years of teaching that I gave to you, you have to put it in practice. That you have to go out and spread the word." That's what he was telling the disciples. He didn't go back and say, "Hey, look, guys, I'm going to hire a new group of guys because y'all left, right? Y'all didn't get the job done." Now it was time for their faith to take over. We hear in Acts of the Apostles that when that faith took over, miracles started happening through the apostles. People were healed. Things were happening. Because Jesus didn't judge those guys when he came in. and he offered them peace. You see, but then there's Thomas, right? Thomas wasn't there. And I think Thomas, we call Thomas Doubting Thomas all the time, right? He's got that nickname. But I think Thomas was more of a realist, right? Now, he had seen Jesus raise people from the dead as they traveled along all those 3 years. But that doesn't happen. People don't come back from the dead. So I think when the apostles, the other disciples said, we've seen the Lord, he was saying, I think y'all had too much to drink. I don't know what y'all were doing up here in this room all locked in, but something's wrong with you guys. I'm not going to believe this unless I see him myself. And the following week, Jesus appeared again. And he looked at Thomas and he told Thomas, now he didn't judge him, but he said, look at my hand. Look at my side. And stop be unbelieving, but believe. And what statement does Thomas make, right? Because he encountered the risen Christ and he says, my Lord and my God. How awesome. And then Jesus gives us that blessing because he said, you came to believe because you've seen. But blessed are those who have not seen and still believe. Right? But you see, a lot of us, when Father holds up the host and the cup, we say that with Thomas's words to ourselves, right? And it's not supposed to be said out loud because that's between us and God. And we whisper those words, my Lord and my God. Because we all have a little bit of Thomas within us. During the week, I was listening to some talks or whatever, and there was a lady who gave her witness statement. She was a convert. And she said that all throughout her life, she knew that there was a God. She knew that she wanted to belong to a church. She knew that there was a home for her. And she had been to all kind of different churches and studied and listened, and she finally found her way home to the Catholic Church. But she said that she never encountered Jesus Christ until that Easter vigil when she was baptized. She said when she was baptized, she said she knew deep down in her heart that Jesus Christ is a real person and lives today. You could say that she said those words of Thomas, my Lord and my God, because she encountered Jesus Christ. Have we encountered Jesus Christ? Have we met him? You see, because for her, everything that she knew about God was in her head. And until it dropped down into her heart, where she believed with her heart, it really didn't mean anything. It was just words. So when we say those words, do we say them from our heart? Or is it just something that we say? You see, Jesus' divine mercy, Jesus Christ's love for each and every one of us goes beyond our brokenness. You see, because we're all broken, God knew that, right? Part of what Jesus did in this gospel was gave us the sacrament of reconciliation. He gave the disciples the power to forgive sins. And that has been passed on to our priest. Because you see, Jesus Christ knew that we were going to fall. He knew in our brokenness that we're never going to reach that perfection, that we're going to need a way to go back and tell God, I'm sorry. I messed up again and again. But you see, Jesus' love, that divine mercy, that love that comes from Jesus Christ is without end. You see, on Thursday of last week before, whatever, we celebrated the Mass of the Lord's Supper, right? Where he instituted the Eucharist for us. And he washed the feet of the disciples. But you see, we have to remember that Jesus' love was so great that he washed the feet of Judas. And he knew what Judas was going to do. And he washed his feet anyway. He washed the feet of Peter who he had told Peter that you're going to deny me. And he washed Peter's feet anyway. And he washed the feet of Thomas. And he knew that Thomas was not going to believe until he saw things for himself. But he washed Thomas's feet anyway. You see, the love of Jesus Christ is without end. And he looks at us, each and every one of us, and he sees our brokenness, and he sees our imperfections, and he loves us anyway. How awesome. And you see, that's that divine mercy. And mercy is when you give someone forgiveness and they don't deserve it. Because Jesus did those things for us so that we could live with him forever in heaven. It's through his mercy. That divine mercy is something that we have to embrace, right? And what does it say on the bottom of most of the paintings? I'm not going to say all of them because I've seen some that didn't have it. What does it say on the bottom of most of the paintings of the divine mercy? Jesus, I trust in you. See, those are easy words to say. We come here to Mass and we give everything to God. We give everything to Jesus Christ. Because you know what, Jesus? I really need you in my life. And then we walk out those doors and we kind of want to be in control. You see, if we really trust Jesus Christ, we're going to let him be in control. We're going to let him be the center of our life. Every day of our life. So when we say those words, it has to be from our heart. Not just words. So can we say them and really mean it? Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you.